I'm not going to go into too much of prelude on this because I'd rather have more discussion. But just to, to bring this, the entire case of Madani, for journalists especially, the way in which we had, I think, learned of our own colleague Shahina and what she went through and what she still goes through, really in trying to report this case and expose the kind of fabrication which the film shows us very clearly. It's really chilling. And there's very, very little support for people who want to speak out and write about this, even today in Kerala. So what we have really is a situation where somebody like Shahina, who's out, like she said in the film, she says it's easier for her because she's out. But actually it's still not so easy because she has to shuttle from one court to another and one city to another. She's on bail. But it's really a very lonely battle. And despite the fact that there's so much of support and so much of awareness, at the end of it, it's still a very lonely battle. And it's like very clearly comes out in the film, there's a completely chilling effect because nobody else wants to touch these kind of stories. And so I think, the film that we just saw was really, really very important because it brings to us a very different reality of a situation which we don't even know exists in many ways, and we are also not even willing to acknowledge. So, of course, there's much more that we could look at with the film about the rise of the PDP. What I would like to also ask our filmmaker, and I'd definitely like more intervention from the audience on what exactly it represents in terms of what is happening in Kerala today and the kind of established political parties and their reaction to the rise of this very incredible grouping which the PDP has brought, the kind of support it has. So all of that also I hope we will have more discussion on.
I'm very struck by one thing that Madani's case actually began with his opposition, his raising his voice against the demolition of the Babri Masjid. And it's very interesting today how everyone discusses 1984 and 2002. And 92 and 93 here in Mumbai, for instance. And the fact that, the 92-93 riots, all those who were charged, there's been no convictions, that is completely forgotten, In the discourse on communal strife even, it's very interesting how the 92-93 is completely forgotten. And for me, your film was a reminder how important that is and how we don't even know how many others have, even in the 92-93 riots. I think there are few committed journalists who followed these cases. But there's another story that actually has not been even, documented, leave alone told through film or anything else. But I think for us sitting in Bombay, the Madani's case, our Mumbai press hardly covers these issues. So it's only Shahina, when she came last year for our Network of Women in Media, and she talked about her case, and we know it because she's our colleague. We know about it, but the details that you brought out were very striking, and I'm glad that you've brought in all the other cases, but I think Madani's case in itself is something that is a reminder of what has happened and what could follow now with the situation as it is in the country. Sorry, it's not a question, it's just a comment.
For Shahina's case, we tried when she came first to Bangalore. She was very worried, and then if she comes to Bangalore with all the Sanghis over there, she might not go back. And we tried our level best to get bail support. It is very difficult. It is only one person's salary and one person's property to be put. And people like us don't have salaries or any property. We don't have anything. So we took the initiative. We approached a lot of people at that time. Both NGOs, non-NGOs, activists, all kinds of activists left and all that. People were all afraid, actually. Now, K.K. Shahina is an associate editor of Open magazine, and he was in Telka. She was a known person, and if it can happen to K.K. Shahina. And finally, we got one gay professor and one NGO and another NGO person, and who could put their salaries, and the gay professor is working as a professor in Bangalore. And so I found trouble. And many of the activists, the unfunded activist movements, they said, you can't get anybody. Everybody's afraid to do this in Karnataka. And this is not the first case. Several issues we know that this is the problem, because in fact, when we met Abdul Nasir Madani for the first time in jail, he talked to me as a friend. That is around 3 years back. First time I was meeting him, and I could see the compassion in him. And I think his compassion is the biggest strength as well as his weakness, because RSS blew his 1 foot, and he forgave them. The person who kind of blew his the bomb on his foot, finally when he came back from Coimbatore jail, that case was going on in the High Court. He came and fell at his 1 foot and cried and said, I have 4 children and a wife. He was a bus conductor, and I have please forgive me, and I am prepared to work as your bodyguard for the rest of your life. I was an RSS person, now I am not. I understand my mistake. I can work as a bodyguard for the rest of your life. Please forgive me and all that. No, please save my family. So don't give my name in the court. So Madani said, I'll save you and your family. And he didn't mention it in the court. He didn't identify him. Actually, everybody knew who was the person, including Madani, but he didn't identify the person. He forgave the person. Not just that, when he said, and he also didn't have a job and all that, because in that area, Abdul Nasir Madani is respected both by Hindus, Christians and Muslims, and everybody. So he was isolated in that area also. He lost his job as a bus conductor. So Madani said, he said he's lost his job and all that. There's a problem, economic problem also. Now I want to. So when he left, when he was leaving, he told somebody that he's got a big problem. Give him some money, So actually, I wrote about it in a Malayalam paper called Madhyamam, also in Countercurrents, as well as I spoke to him directly also. Your problem is the compassion. If I lose my leg, some process lose my leg, and if he had fought it, it's not for his leg. If he had fought it, then other people would not have suffered, and we would not have been in jail again. Your problem is your compassion. And what happened to the other leg in the second time he was in jail, last 4 years in jail for no reason. This is, the 3 witnesses in Kerala are all bogus, all lies, reported heavily by the Kerala press as well as the national press as a basis of and K.K. Shahina, as Geeta she was a courageous woman to report the truth. The mainstream journalism has the capacity to report, convert truth into lies and lies into truth. That's what mainstream journalism. I rarely read the newspapers now. It's so boring. I know it's all bogus. I can see much better information from the internet and the alternative films. You read lies and believe it. And why? What is the source of information of the journalists, mainstream journalists? They sit and I've seen the activities happening. Evening they ring up the police station and they say what is news, and they say the terrorist, this guy is Madani or Zakaria or anybody else caught and okay, they're right, and kind of splash it. You know, that is the source of information. The source of information is the police machinery, or film stars, or writers, or the bureaucrats, or the politicians. Beyond that, they don't go to the people. You know, the people's movements, who have been the thousands of people's movements on fighting for land, water, and forest in this country, they don't go to those areas. They don't even know what are the people's movements going on. They are totally ignorant people. If you have a press release, press conference, they can't even copy it and type it properly.
Kalpana was talking about the fact that your film seemed to bring out the beginning of the Babri Masjid conflict.
No.
Whereas today's
Exactly.
mainstream media is looking at 1984 and then straight away from that. You know, they don't seem to want to.
Kalpana, I would like to add to Kalpana. See, if you look at the political texts in the history of this country, as such, certain phases of so many books and come out, and journalists have been interested in. Partition is one issue, Babri Masjid is one issue, emergency is one issue, and so many books and so many materials, journalistic works have come out and all that. And today's emergency, silent emergency, you don't see. That's a different thing. But apart from Babri Masjid, I agree with you completely. But I would like to add on one more thing. See, Babri Masjid is one mosque which is demolished. I'm working on a film documentary on Kandhamal. We have over 100 hours of footage. I don't have money to finish it. That's another problem. But what is Kandhamal? You have something like over 300 churches which have been demolished. Not one. Babri Masjid was only one church. And you have around something like 293 churches, and rest were worship places. Like on the streets you find worship places, you know. They have been demolished. Yes, people have been raped, over 6,500 houses have been burned and looted and destroyed, and people have been forcibly converted, and a whole range of, that's a different thing. You know, I'm talking about churches. 80% of the population of Adivasis in the Kandhamal is Adivasis and Dalits. 20% is the outsiders, which is the base of the Sangh Parivar. Now, why is it that within that you can say around 25-30% of Dalits and Adivasis are Christians? Rest are neither Christians, Muslims, or Hindus. They have their own spirituality, their own gods. You know, you don't recognize them. You don't recognize their faith, that they are separate religions. Santhal is a separate religion. You know, Ho is a separate religion. They are separate gods. Nothing to do with Hinduism or Christianity or Muslim. Now, why so much destruction has taken place? 8 people raping a nun, and around 100 people watching it, all Sangh Parivar, with swords and all that. And it's not an issue. You know, 300 churches was not destroyed. It's not an issue. Why is it? Because I strongly believe that it is because they are Dalit Adivasi Christians. All the churches which are demolished have been Dalit Adivasi churches. So Babri Masjid everybody hears, but nobody hears about Kandhamal churches which has been demolished. It's not one, over 300.